Hey there, superstar. I am here with my friend and colleague, Phil M. Jones. So excited. Keynote speaker, internationally known, written a book, Exactly What to Say, which has sold 1.4 million copies. He's here with me today talking about how to generate more influence, more impact by using your words, using magic words, communicating more effectively. And right now, we're going to talk about how to resolve conflict more effectively, how to address it, how to approach it, how to be better inside of it. So Phil, welcome. And why is this such an important topic?
Well, I think our progress is stifled so much because of our fear or ability to be able to address a position of conflict.
Yeah.
Whether this is a frustration about something that one of your children haven't done that they should have done, or whether it's an employee or a key worker or a vendor or somebody that isn't delivering the result that they're looking for, etc. We run from this stuff.
We do.
And we think it's just going to figure itself out, and over time it will take care of itself. Yeah,
it just gets worse, usually.
Or it just becomes truth.
Yeah.
It actually just ends up becoming, well, you accepted it, so therefore you accepted it, therefore it is now what it is. So if you want to create change in somebody else's behavior, if you have a conflict that you need to be able to address, addressing it quicker is going to help you get to a position of change, which is the ultimate thing we're looking for, right? Is if a conflict exists, you want somebody or something else to change. We're really talking about how do you influence change.
Yeah, and how to also have more joy in life. I mean, it doesn't feel good to have resentment toward people. And that's what happens when there's a situation that's not addressed and there's conflict that's under the surface. We get resentful, annoyed, frustrated, irritated, all these kind of passive-aggressive, seething ways of being. And I've been there, you know?
And we project, right?
Yes.
We project onto people as well. And if you're ever saying, I think you should, you need to, these are the consequences, etc., what you're doing is you're adding to the conflict.
Yeah.
And what I've learned to be true is that unreasonable can't deal with reasonable.
Right.
If you give it enough time of being reasonable.
Yeah.
Whereas if somebody's being unreasonable and you address them with an unreasonable response, well, we fight fire with fire, and all we do is we heat up the conflict, right? That's what happens.
Just escalates.
And the mistake people make is that they want to be right.
Indeed.
Which means if I'm right, you're wrong. Which means you want to double down on being right, so I'm wrong. Which means that I'm going to tell you why I'm right, and you're going to say, no, you're wrong. And we're going to play in this dance for somewhere near ever. The shift in mindset in conflict resolution means that we need to introduce a new enemy.
Okay.
We need to introduce an enemy that says, this isn't me versus you. This is, how do we get a greater understanding that that over there is the enemy? And how do we get clarity on saying that we might be able to slay this monster together?
Oh, yeah. Now you're on the same team.
That's it.
And you're working together instead of at cross purposes.
Yeah, and you get there by following really a three-step dance.
Okay.
These are, to me, the three critical ingredients to be more influential in any conversation.
Okay.
The first is starting from a position of curiosity. Curiosity gets you to empathy. And empathy is then followed up by courage.
Okay.
And these are words we've heard before, but why those three words and why in that precise order? Well, let's start with that curiosity piece. Why start there? You ever found yourself in a situation where somebody is so sure of themselves? They're like ridiculously certain of themselves, and it kind of rubs you up the wrong way.
Sure, all the time.
Right? We've been in rooms together in $1 Million Speakers Group and at National Speakers Association where people are telling you, little girl, like, here's how this thing goes. And you're like, I was doing that stuff 9 years ago, but good for you, sunshine, right? You've been there. That whole I know mentality that gets forced on people, it creates friction.
Yes.
And what happens is little voice inside your head starts to go like, I don't like you. You're getting ready for fight or flight, right?
That's
It's
true.
what is happening in that period of time. And the reality of it is that uncertainty is, well, somebody shows up with huge amounts of certainty, it creates uncertainty in you. The more certain they are themselves, the more uncertainty you create in your ability in them. That's what changes. If you start a conversation from a position of curiosity, what you do is you earn their context.
Okay.
What context does is it dances you towards certainty. Why? Because you get clarity of their situation. You get clarity of what's really going on. And we want to start in that position because as much as you have content you want to address, like, like you need to have better standards in tidying your room because if you don't, then you're not going to be able to get a good job and no girl is ever going to want to date you, yada, yada, yada. If we start with content, we create friction.
That's right.
Instead, we start from a position of curiosity. So if you start from a position of curiosity, you can ask better questions like help me understand.
Yes.
What a beautiful preface at the front end of an ask is help me understand.
Help me understand.
Because I'm saying teach me. I'm saying I'm missing stuff. Or what is your experience with? Or when was the last time? And these simple prefaces get the other person to be able to add color to their reality, which gives you almost 4D vision. You stay there as long as you possibly can. If you stay in a position of curiosity long enough, you naturally just dance towards empathy.
Yeah.
See, selling is earning the right to make a recommendation, which means you should never, ever, 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 ever invite anybody to do anything unless you can say the words first because of the fact that you said.
Right.
I want to be able to say because of the fact that you said that this matters to you,
Yes.
then for those reasons, what I'd recommend is this.
Okay.
Because in the medical industry, they say prescription before diagnosis is malpractice, right?
Indeed.
And if you went to a doctor and the doctor said, hey, pharmaceutical rep was here yesterday, told me about these great new pills, you should take 2 a day, you'd be like, what?
Yeah.
Instead, if they sat you down, asked you some questions, understood your context, and then made the same recommendations, you'd be like, sure,
Yeah.
I'm game.
Exactly.
Or certainly far more likely to be. So you get towards this position of empathy. And when I'm talking about empathy here, it's not like in a woo-woo way. It's probably best described by a friend of mine called John Acuff, who says that empathy is to care about what the people you care about care about.
Yeah.
And if you want to test yourself as to like how often do I get this wrong, then look at your last sent emails.
Okay.
I was just checking in. I was hoping. Just circling back. They're all saying me, I'm important.
That's right.
Look at people's website copy. We were founded in. We pride ourselves in. We love ourselves. I'm like, geez, good for you, party people, right? like I'm happy that you love yourself. And we show up with examples of not being empathetic in our language. And a point of conflict resolution is we are projecting our own wishes and desires on people. So if I'm going to truly be empathetic, I need to see the world through their eyes. And I can't tell them that. I need to get them to be able to see it for themselves. And that's why we have to stay in this space so that you feel like you can truly understand. Let's take, for example, that you're looking to deal with somebody who's a child that is perhaps having some struggles with their behavioral issues and that you believe that they have been bullied. And you believe that there is some form of bullying. Well, if I was to ask that person, so what's happening? They'd just tell me nothing, Mum. Nothing, Dad. I got it, right? If I start curious, they'll say things and start with prefaces like, so help me understand what's really going on. I give them permission to be able to breathe life into that, right? Because what I'm saying is I don't get it. Get to a position of empathy. I can ask questions well, what do you think my experience is of being bullied? And I can say, well, I certainly don't have any understanding or experience about that happening online. So how does that differ to maybe something I experienced 20, 30 years ago? And what we can do is we can find ourselves teaching each other.
Right.
That's the goal of empathy, is to be able to create something you can give to me and something I can give to you so we can see a new normal together.
All right, everybody. I know that this was valuable for you because it was valuable for me. And so I've asked Phil, what is the best next thing to send you to? What offering does he have for you? And this is what we got.
Yeah, we got plenty of things that you can plug into. First thing is stop by exactlywhattosay.com. You'll see dozens of articles, videos, trainings from either me or our certified guides about topics like overcoming indecision, overcoming conflict, resolving difficult conversations in a variety of scenarios from people way smarter than me. So you should stop by that. And if you want to get better at this stuff for yourself, you might want to take our free 31-day challenge, and we'll post some links to where you can be able to plug into that as well, where you'll get an email every single day for 31 days inviting you to take an action to utilize a more intentional set of words to achieve a better outcome for you.
Awesome. Thank you, Phil.
Yet we're so fearful of making asks because of fear of being pushy or obnoxious, etc. When if you start curious, you reach a position of empathy. The empathy makes you relatable. It means you hit the show me you know me button inside the head. And then the courage to just ask for the next action is natural.